Under the dark sky of Washington in 1952, people look up as lights move fast across the clouds. Radar operators watch as blips appear and vanish. Pilots scramble jets that cannot catch the lights. People below feel the world has changed. As the lights dance above the Capitol, and the night air feels heavy with the weight of fear and wonder, a man stands on his porch, gripping the wooden rail, as he sees three lights in a triangle moving in silence above the city. He calls for his wife, and she comes running, wiping her hands on a towel as she looks up and sees the lights shift in the sky without sound. The dogs in the neighborhood begin to bark as the lights hover and then move again in sharp angles that no human plane can match. The radar room in the nearby Air Force Base is filled with tension as men shout coordinates and watch the blips appear and vanish. The radar screens glow in the dark room as the men sweat and adjust their headsets, trying to understand what they are seeing. Jets take off into the night, roaring into the sky, while the lights remain just ahead, teasing the pilots, who call out positions and speeds that make no sense. The lights move faster than the jets can follow and then stop in the air as if waiting for the pilots to catch up before moving again with impossible speed. A boy in the suburbs holds his father's hand as they both watch the lights dance across the stars. The father tells him to remember this moment because he knows deep down that this night is different. The lights shift from red to white to blue, moving in patterns that look like they are drawing something in the sky. Above the nation's capital, reporters gather near the National Mall, looking up with their cameras ready, but the lights move too fast to capture the reporters. Speak into their recorders with shaking voices as they describe the lights moving in impossible patterns over the monuments. The air feels electric as the lights move above the White House and then toward the Washington Monument, pausing for a moment as if looking down before shooting away toward the river. Leaving the reporters and the people gathered in silence, the radar operators at the Air Traffic Control Center call the pilots, asking for visual confirmation, and the pilots confirm. They see the lights with their own eyes. They describe the lights moving without sound, shifting direction instantly and hovering in ways that defy gravity. The pilots feel a mix of fear and awe as they chase something they cannot catch in the dark sky over the Capitol. A woman sitting by her window writes in her journal as she watches the lights. She writes that she feels like she is witnessing something important, something that will change how people see the world. She sees the lights form a circle above the city, before splitting into separate points and shooting off in different directions, leaving the sky empty once more. The dogs stop barking. The people lower their heads in the air feels heavy with questions. The radar screens return to normal. The jets return to base. The pilots step out of their cockpits, looking at each other with eyes wide open. They have no words to explain what they saw above Washington that night as the lights vanish into the dark sky, leaving behind a city that will never forget the night it looked up and saw the impossible. Deep in Rendlesham Forest, the cold air presses against the soldiers as they move between the trees, flashlights cutting thin beams of light through the dark. They follow the strange glow pulsing ahead of them, colors shifting from red to blue to white in a slow rhythm that seems to match the beating of their hearts. They step closer, and the glow grows brighter, lighting up the trunks of the trees around them, casting long shadows that move like spirits on the ground. One soldier reaches out, his hand shaking as he gets close enough to see the shape on the ground, a metallic object, small and smooth with symbols along its side that glow softly in the cold night air. The other soldiers stand back, holding their breath, as the object hums with a low sound that seems to echo inside their chests. The air feels charged with electricity, the hairs on their arms standing as they watch the object pulse. The forest around them is silent. No birds, no rustling leaves, just the hum and the glow and their breathing in the cold. A sudden gust of wind moves through the trees, and the object brightens for a moment, the symbols along its side moving like liquid light before settling again. One soldier drops to his knees in front of it, reaching out to touch the surface. It feels warm and smooth under his fingers, as if the metal is alive, pulsing softly in response. To his touch, his mind fills with images of lights in the sky, of stars and shapes he does not understand, and he pulls his hand back, gasping. The object dims and the hum grows softer as the soldiers step back, staring at each other with wide eyes. Unable to speak, the radio on one of their belts crackles, but no words come through, only static and a high-pitched tone that makes them cover their ears. The lights on the object flicker in patterns that none of them can read, and then the glow begins to fade slowly, as if the object is going to sleep. The forest feels heavy around them as they stand in silence, watching the last light vanish, leaving behind only the darkness and the cold. They look at the ground where the object had rested and see marks burned into the earth, small circles and lines forming a pattern they do not understand. They take out their notebooks, sketching the shapes as quickly as they can, their hands shaking as they draw. They look around the forest, expecting something to step out from the trees, but the darkness remains still, the cold pressing closer. As they finish their sketches and stand, the radio comes back to life with voices calling their names, asking for a report, asking if they see the lights in the sky above them. The soldiers look up and see faint lights moving high above the trees, shifting in the night sky without sound, drifting slowly before shooting away into the darkness. The soldiers begin to walk back toward the edge of the forest, the sketches clutched in their hands. The air feels different as they leave the place where the object rested, a heaviness that follows them back to their base that night. They do not sleep as the images of the lights and the object fill their minds with questions they cannot answer. High above the frozen skies of Alaska, a pilot grips the controls as the cold wind rattles the frame of his cargo plane. His eyes scan the darkness ahead as a glow appears on the horizon. At first he thinks it is another aircraft, but the glow grows larger and shifts colors from orange to white to green, moving in a slow dance across the empty sky. The pilot calls out to his crew, asking if they see it too, and they nod, their eyes wide with fear, as the glowing object keeps pace with the plane, moving alongside them without sound or vibration. The radar confirms the object is there, hovering at the same altitude, keeping the same speed, but no one can explain what it is. The pilot tries to radio the control tower, but the signal is filled with static and the voice on the other end breaks in and out. As the object moves closer, the crew feels a coldness in the cabin, a pressure that makes it hard to breathe as they watch the lights shift and split into two shapes that move around the plane in a slow spiral. The pilot grips the yoke tighter as the lights move in front of the plane, blocking the path ahead. He tries to change course, but the lights follow, moving with impossible precision and speed. The radar shows the shapes moving faster than any known aircraft, but to the crew they appear to float with an eerie calm. The pilot calls out to the crew to remain calm as the lights move closer, the glow reflecting off the cockpit windows, bathing the crew in a cold light. The shapes move apart again and form a line in front of the plane, hovering for a moment before shooting upward into the darkness. The crew looks at each other in silence, breathing hard as the coldness in the cabin begins to fade. The pilot checks the instruments and sees that everything is normal again, but he knows what they saw was real. The radar operator on the ground watches the screens as the shapes appear and vanish, moving in patterns that make no sense. He calls his supervisor, who comes in with a cup of coffee and stops when he sees the radar screen. The shapes move faster than the equipment can track, jumping from one point to another in a blink of an eye, and then vanishing, leaving only the echo of their presence on the screen. The pilot reports the incident when he lands, his voice shaking as he describes the lights and how they moved without sound and without leaving any trace. The officials listen and write down notes, but they give no answers, only telling him to file a report and to get some rest that night. The pilot lies in bed, staring at the ceiling as the image of the glowing shapes remains in his mind. He knows that what he saw was not a trick of the light or a weather phenomenon. He knows that something followed his plane in the dark skies over Alaska, something that moved with intelligence and purpose, something that left them with more questions than answers. As the cold winds outside continued to blow across the endless snow, the pilot closes his eyes, but the shapes remain in his mind, moving in silence across the darkness of the sky. In the chaos of the American Civil War, a young soldier named Thomas crouches in the muddy field as cannon fire shakes the earth around him. The smell of smoke and iron fills the cold morning air. His hands grip the rifle tighter as screams echo across the fog-covered ground. But suddenly, a strange silence falls over the battlefield, as if the world has paused, holding its breath. Thomas looks up and sees a metallic sphere floating above the treetops. It is glowing with a pale white light that pierces through the smoke. The sphere moves slowly above the battlefield, ignoring the noise and destruction below. It hums with a sound so low it vibrates in Thomas' chest, and he feels fear crawl up his spine as other soldiers on both sides stop firing and look up, their faces painted with mud and fear. They stare as the sphere hovers slowly across the sky. It is so close. Thomas can see strange patterns like lines and symbols shifting across its surface. The light from the sphere reflects off the bayonets and helmets below, making the field look like a twisted reflection of the stars above. The horse panics and breaks free from its rider, galloping through the lines as the sphere follows its path for a moment. Then it stops over a fallen tree tree and hovers there silently. The humming grows louder, and Thomas feels the hair on his arms stand up as if lightning is about to strike. Some soldiers drop to their knees, praying, while others stand frozen, unable to speak or move. The cannons are silent, the guns are silent, the screams are silent, only the strange hum fills the cold morning air. Thomas notices that the smoke around the sphere seems too clear, as if pushed away by an invisible force, revealing the shape more clearly. It is not like any balloon he has seen, not like any cannonball or lantern. It is something else, something that does not belong here in this war, in this time. The sphere tilts slightly, and a beam of light shines down onto the muddy ground. It moves across the field, slowly, as if searching for something. The light touches a broken cannon wheel, and the wood begins to steam as if heated by the sun. Thomas' heart races. He wants to run, but his legs do not move. He can only watch as the beam of light continues its path across the field, illuminating fallen soldiers and shattered rifles. The sphere then begins to rise slowly into the sky. The light beam retracts and the humming grows quieter. Thomas feels tears in his eyes as he watches it move higher above the trees, the soldiers around him still silent, watching as the sphere suddenly flashes once with a bright white light, and then shoots into the sky faster than any cannonball, disappearing into the morning clouds. As the sphere vanishes, the world seems to return to itself. The cannons begin to fire again, the screams return, the smoke thickens, and the chaos of war swallows the field once more. But Thomas can only stand there, gripping his rifle, looking at the sky where the sphere disappeared. He knows he has seen something that will haunt him for the rest of his life, something that does not belong to this earth, something that will remain a mystery as the war around him rages on. In the dusty streets of Varginha, Brazil, the air feels heavy with the scent of rain as children run barefoot across the cracked sidewalks, their laughter echoing against the concrete walls when they see it crouching near a broken wall with skin the color of ash and large red eyes that glow softly in the gray light. They stop in their tracks, too afraid to scream. The creature does not move. It breathes in slow, heavy breaths, as if the air itself is thick and painful. Its arms are long and thin, with fingers that twitch against the ground. The children watch as the creature turns its head slowly, and the red eyes meet theirs in a moment that feels like the world is holding its breath. The children turn and run, screaming for their mothers, who come out of their homes with wide eyes and beating hearts. The mothers see the creature and pull their children close, backing away as the creature tries to stand but falls back against the wall, its eyes blinking slowly, as if it is trying to understand where it is and why it cannot move. The rain begins to fall in soft drops against the dust, turning the street into a dark mirror reflecting the gray sky above. Neighbors gather in silence as they watch the creature breathing slowly, with its red eyes blinking in the rain. Someone calls the police, and soon cars arrive with flashing lights. Men step out with weapons drawn, their boots splashing in the shallow puddles as they move closer to the creature. It does not fight, it does not run, it only watches them with eyes that seem to hold the weight of the sky above and the darkness of the stars beyond. Soldiers arrive later in the night, trucks rolling in under the cover of darkness, while the people of the town watch from their windows with curtains pulled back just enough to see the shadows moving in the rain. The soldiers cover the creature with a dark sheet, lifting it onto a stretcher. As it makes a soft sound, a sound that is not human but not angry, only tired and afraid, the soldiers move quickly, loading the stretcher into a truck as the rain falls harder, washing the streets clean but leaving behind the fear that will not leave. The people watch as the trucks drive away, their red lights glowing in the mist, and they feel a silence fall over the town that will never fully leave. Some say they saw other creatures that night, small shadows moving near the edges of the fields with eyes that glowed in the darkness before vanishing into the trees. Some say they heard the sound of something above the clouds that night, a low hum that made the windows shake gently in their frames. Mothers hold their children closer that night, whispering prayers as the rain taps against the rooftops, and the memory of the creature with red eyes stays in the dark corners of their minds. The town feels different after that day, as if something has shifted in the air, and the people know deep inside that they have seen something they were never meant to see, and they know that the sky above them holds more secrets than they will ever understand. In the restless skies of Tehran, a fighter pilot grips the controls of his Phantom jet as the city lights flicker far below. The warm air of the Iranian night presses against the cockpit glass as he looks up and sees it, a bright object shining like a star but moving closer and closer without a sound. The pilot calls the tower, his voice steady but inside his heart beats faster as the object hovers in front of him, glowing with a white light that pulses like a heartbeat against the blackness of the sky. He tries to lock his weapons onto it, but the system fails. The radar flickers and dies, and the cockpit lights flash in warning, as if the jet itself is afraid. The pilot feels the sweat on his hands as he grips the controls, trying to turn away, but the object moves with him, shifting easily, without effort, staying just ahead. Like it is watching him, like it is waiting for something in the darkness. The object spins slowly, and lights appear along its edge, red and blue and green, shifting and swirling like a dance in the night sky. And the pilot feels something in his mind, a pressure that is not pain but not comfort either. It is like the silence between thunder and lightning, stretched out across the sky. He calls to the other jets in the air, asking if they see it, and they answer yes, voices filled with fear, as they too see the object hovering above the city without sound, without reason. The pilot tries again to engage his weapons, but everything goes dark. For a moment the radio dies, the lights vanish, the controls freeze, and the only thing left is the glow of the object outside the glass. The pilot feels small in that moment, smaller than he has ever felt before, as if he is nothing but dust in the air. Beneath the weight of the stars, the object flashes once bright enough to blind him, before shooting upward into the sky, vanishing in a blink, leaving the darkness behind and the silence of the cockpit. The instruments return, the lights come back, and the radio crackles with voices calling to him, asking if he is okay, asking what he saw, but the pilot has no words for what he saw. He returns to base that night, landing the jet with shaking hands as the warm wind of the night moves across the runway. He steps out into the darkness, looking up at the sky that looks the same as it always has, but he knows it is not the same anymore. He knows something. Is there something that moved like light and watched him with patience and silence, something that showed him how small and fragile he truly is in the darkness of the universe? Later, as he writes his report, he struggles to find words that can capture the feeling of being so close to something not of this world, and he knows that no report, no paper. In the restless skies of Tehran, a fighter pilot grips the controls of his phantom jet as the city lights flicker far below. The warm air of the Iranian night presses against the cockpit glass. As he looks up and sees it, a bright object, shining like a star but moving closer and closer without a sound. The pilot calls the tower, his voice steady, but inside his heart beats faster as the object hovers in front of him, glowing with a white light that pulses like a heartbeat against the blackness of the sky. He tries to lock his weapons onto it, but the system fails. The radar flickers and dies, and the cockpit lights flash in warning, as if the jet itself is afraid. The pilot feels the sweat on his hands as he grips the controls, trying to turn away, but the object moves with him, shifting easily without effort, staying just ahead, like it is watching him, like it is waiting for something in the darkness. The object spins slowly, and lights appear along its edge, red and blue and green, shifting and swirling like a dance in the night sky. And the pilot feels something in his mind, a pressure that is not pain but not comfort either. It is like the silence between thunder and lightning, stretched out across the sky. He calls off the endless coast of California. The ocean breathes under a gray dawn sky as Navy pilots sit in the humming silence of their cockpits, watching the dark waves far below. When the object appears on their radar, it moves fast, too fast, skipping across the water and rising into the air without leaving a trail. The pilots glance at each other, their voices calm but their eyes wide as they lock their cameras onto the strange shape. It is small at first, a dot on the screen moving with impossible speed, and then it is larger, hovering without wings, without sound, turning in the air like it is alive. One pilot speaks into the radio, asking if everyone is seeing the same thing, and the voices that come back are tight with tension. Yes, they see it too. The object hovers, then darts to the left, then up, then stops in the air, as if gravity is just a choice and not a law. It moves again, dropping toward the ocean before shooting back into the sky, and the pilots follow their jets, roaring across the cold air. But the object does not run. It plays with them, shifting in and out of the clouds, dipping into the water, and reappearing with ease. It does not belong to the ocean or the air. It belongs to both, moving without fear, as the pilots record it on their infrared cameras, watching the shape glow bright against the darkness of the sea. The voices over the radio crackle with disbelief as the pilots describe what they see: the object moving like nothing they have ever seen, like nothing they have ever trained to fight. One pilot tries to get closer, pushing the jet to its limits as the object hovers and spins, just ahead, staying in his sights for a breath, before blinking away, vanishing, and reappearing miles away. In an instant, the pilot feels the weight of the moment pressing into his chest, the cold realization that whatever this is, it is not human. It does not fear them. It does not fear their jets or their radars or their weapons. It watches them as they watch it, and the air feels different around them, heavy and silent, even as the engines scream later when the pilots land on the carrier. They step out onto the deck under the harsh lights of the dawn sky, and the cold wind of the ocean moves around them. They talk in quiet voices about what they saw, but no words feel right to capture the sight of something moving through the sky. And see without care or hesitation something that moved like a thought, faster than the machines they trust with their lives. The footage is taken and locked away, and the pilots are told to write their reports and move on. But at night, when they look out across the dark ocean, they remember the shape moving in the sky, the way it hovered and watched and disappeared, leaving only questions that have no answers under the vast silent sky above the endless rolling sea. In a quiet neighborhood in New Jersey, under the cold breath of winter, people step out from their warm homes, drawn by a strange light in the sky, above the dark line of the trees. It is silent, not like the noise of planes, or the distant hum of cars. It is a silence that feels alive, pressing into their ears, as they stand in the frost-covered grass, staring up at the lights that hover above them, red and blue and white. Shifting in slow, deliberate patterns, the lights move in perfect formation, drifting over the trees like they are searching for something, or showing themselves on purpose. The people whisper to each other, their breath turning to fog in the cold air, as they watch the lights dance without sound, without fear. Someone brings out a camera, but the lights shift higher, as if they know they are being watched, and they pause above the neighborhood. Hovering in the darkness, people step closer into the street, away from the warmth of their homes, drawn by the lights that move. Like a language they cannot understand, a mother holds her child close, the small hand gripping her coat as the child points at the lights, eyes wide with wonder and fear. The lights move again, forming a line that stretches across the sky, and then breaking apart into a triangle that holds for a moment before spinning in a slow circle, the colors shifting and pulsing like a heartbeat in the sky. The silence feels heavy, as if the world itself is waiting for something to happen, but nothing falls from the sky. No sound breaks the cold air, only the lights moving above them, holding their gaze. As if time has stopped, someone calls the police, but when the sirens echo down the street, the lights begin to rise, moving upwards slowly at first, and then faster, shooting into the sky with a final flash that lights up the trees and the rooftops before vanishing into the darkness, leaving only the cold wind and the sound of hearts beating fast in the silence. The people stand there for a moment longer, staring at the empty sky before turning back to their homes, the warmth of their lights waiting inside. But the night feels different. Now the sky feels different now, as if the stars are watching and waiting. Some people cannot sleep. That night they keep looking out their windows, hoping to see the lights again, or afraid they might return. The children draw pictures of the lights with crayons, red and blue and white circles above the trees, with the dark sky around them. The parents keep the drawings and talk in whispers, late at night, about what they saw, about how the lights moved without sound, and how it felt like something was there. Something they could not see but could feel in the air around them, above them. The lights never returned to that quiet street in New Jersey, but the people who saw them never forgot the way the sky opened for a moment and showed them something that did not belong to the world. They knew something that left them standing in the cold air with questions that would never have answers under the watching eyes of the silent stars. In a quiet neighborhood in New Jersey, under the cold breath of winter, people step out from their warm homes, drawn by a strange light in the sky above the dark line of the trees. It is silent, not like the noise of planes or the distant hum of cars. It is a silence that feels alive, pressing into their ears as they stand in the frost-covered grass, staring up at the lights that hover above them, red and blue and white. Shifting in slow, deliberate patterns, the lights move in perfect formation, drifting over the trees like they are searching for something, or showing themselves on purpose. The people whisper to each other, their breath turning to fog in the cold air, as they watch the lights dance, without sound, without fear. Someone brings out a camera, but the lights shift higher, as if they know they are being watched, and they pause above the neighborhood. Hovering in the darkness, people step closer into the street, away from the warmth of their homes, drawn by the lights that move. Like a language they cannot understand, a mother holds her child close, the small hand gripping her coat as the child points at the lights, eyes wide with wonder and fear. The lights move again, forming a line that stretches across the sky, and then, breaking apart into a triangle that holds for a moment, before spinning in a slow circle, the colors shifting and pulsing like a heartbeat in the sky. The silence feels heavy, as if the world itself is waiting for something to happen, but nothing falls from the sky. No sound breaks the cold air, only the lights moving above them holding their gaze. As if time has stopped, someone calls the police, but when the sirens echo down the street, the lights begin to rise, moving upward slowly at first, and then faster, shooting into the sky with a final flash that lights up the trees and the rooftops, before vanishing into the darkness, leaving only the cold wind and the sound of hearts beating fast in the silence. The people stand there for a moment longer, staring at the empty sky before turning back to their homes, the warmth of their lights waiting inside. But the night feels different. Now the sky feels different now, as if the stars are watching and waiting. Some people cannot sleep. That night they keep looking out their windows, hoping to see the lights again, or afraid they might return. The children draw pictures of the lights with crayons, red and blue and white circles above the trees, with the dark sky around them. The parents keep the drawings and talk in whispers late at night about what they saw, about how the lights moved without sound and how it felt like something was there. Something they could not see but could feel in the air around Tidup. In the frozen forests of Siberia, the wind moves through the dark pines with a low whisper as hunters walk silently through the snow, following the tracks of deer under a pale moon. The night is cold enough to bite their skin, but they keep moving, breath steaming in the stillness, and then they see it, a soft glow moving between the trees like a lantern without a hand to hold it, shifting from white to blue to green without sound. They stop in the snow, weapons lowered, as the light drifts closer, pulsing softly against the darkness. It is small at first, a sphere the size of a fist, moving just above the snow, leaving no tracks, no warmth in the air. The hunters exchange glances, eyes wide with fear and wonder, as the sphere hovers for a moment before moving past them. Into the trees they follow because they cannot help themselves, their boots crunching softly in the snow as the light leads them deeper into the forest, where the trees grow thick and the shadows feel alive. The glow illuminates the branches, casting long shapes across the snow as it moves in slow circles above a patch of ground that looks burned black against the white snow. They see strange footprints around the burned patch, prints that are too large, too deep to be from any animal they know. And the prints stop suddenly, as if whatever made them simply vanished into the air. The hunters feel the cold pressing harder around them, the silence heavy as they stand there, with the glow moving above the burned ground like it is searching for something or guarding it. One hunter reaches out a hand, slowly, fingers shaking, as the sphere hovers just out of reach. The glow grows brighter for a moment, and the hunter pulls back, eyes wide, heart pounding in his chest as he feels something in the air, a vibration that is not sound but something deeper that moves through the bones. The sphere moves higher, drifting up between the dark pines into the night sky, where it joins other lights they did not see before, lights that hover in the sky in a silent formation above the trees, small and bright, like stars that have come closer to watch. The hunters stand there in the snowheads, tilted back, eyes reflecting the lights above, as the spheres move together in a slow dance that makes no sound and leaves no mark on the world around them. And then, in a blink, they are gone, shooting upward into the sky, leaving only the darkness and the cold and the burned patch of ground behind. The hunters return to their fires that night, sitting close to the flames that crackle in the darkness, the glow of the fire warm against their cold skin, as they whisper to each other about what they saw, about the lights that moved without sound and the footprints that stopped in the snow. They looked up at the stars that night with new eyes, knowing that the sky is not empty, knowing that the darkness above the trees holds secrets that watch them as they watch the flames, knowing that the silence of the forest is never truly empty under the cold, endless sky hum above them. The lights never returned to that quiet street in New Jersey, but the people who saw them never forgot the way the sky opened for a moment and showed them something that did not belong to the world. They knew something that left them standing in the cold air with questions that would never have answers under the watching eyes of the silent stars.